Everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So as promised, here's the video on 5 tips you need to know before starting year 10. I will be revealing a very important tip that helped me during the exams, and it will come at any time at any point in the video, so make sure to stay tuned and watch the whole video. Okay, so on to the first tip. Mocks will literally come in a month after you start school, so make sure not to leave any assignments and revision last minute. You don't want to cram all your revision in year 11, so I use this method where I studied in year 10 and in year 11, so I could space my revision out between 2 years and not get stressed between and during exams. What I suggest you all do is every week on a Friday night, you can all sit down and note down the topics you need to revise, the homework you need to complete, and set a goal for every day of the week. Be strict on yourself with the goal, so only finish your day if you have completed the day's work. Okay, so now on to tip 2. Okay, so my second tip is to start revising for exams 2 to 4 weeks before exam week. I know this sounds like a lot. 4 weeks does sound like a lot with exams, but trust me, I'll explain this now so it won't be confusing. So when you start year 10, you'll have your first exams towards the end of September or start of October, depending on your school. Obviously, you haven't learned much then, so you'll only be assessed on a few topics for each subject. I remember I was only assessed on 4 topics for each of my science subjects. So what I did was I started revision 2 weeks before the start of my exam week. And I organized my revision so I'd complete 2 topics for each science in 1 week. So I'd finish just before the exams. And last minute revision never really helped me as it made me forget the stuff I learned earlier. So I used to try and relax the week of my exams. And then during my last mocks at the end of year 10, I had around 8 topics for each science, so I started my revision a good month before my exam week. Remember, you have to revise for 10 other subjects as well, so make sure to plan your revision timetables accordingly. Now on to tip 3. Please don't stress yourselves out. Remember that the main exams are towards the end of year 11, so if you aren't performing as well as you want to, don't worry. You have a long time till year 11 to improve, so instead of stressing yourself out, ask your teachers for feedback, look at your marked exam papers, and see what you're doing wrong. Then target your weaknesses and focus on that and improve yourself. If you still need help, I suggest looking for a good tutor. And what I find is that visual learning helps a lot. So try to find some good YouTubers that can help you learn the topic. Now on to tip 4. So this is the most important one that I was talking about at the beginning of this video. Learn your answers through looking at the mark scheme. I know this method sounds very weird and rarely anyone says to learn from the mark scheme, but I think that this is the most effective way of learning. What you do is that you print out exam questions for the topic you're learning. You then look at the question that comes very frequently in the paper. For example, in chemistry papers, you always get a 4 marker on how sodium and fluorine bond to make sodium fluoride. So then what you do is you look at the mark scheme and take note on what the mark scheme expects the students to write. So for this question, you got 1 mark for saying sodium is a positive ion and fluorine is a negative ion. Then you say that sodium loses an electron and fluorine gains an electron, so that's another mark. Then you say that they make an ionic bond, so here you gain the 3rd mark. And then you also explain why sodium loses an electron and why fluorine gains an electron. So that's 4 marks in total. Now I know the structure and you have to follow it when they ask you any question like that in an exam. So in my experience, I had at least 3 questions like this in my final GCSE exam. So I'd already gained 12 marks. So that's insane, right? So this is exactly how I look at the 6 markers, point out what they exactly want you to say, and usually in exams you get the same type of 6 markers. So memorize each point you need to make to get each mark. If you've liked the tricks I've given you so far, please make sure to support this channel by subscribing right now. Now on to tip number 5, the last tip. So, the last tip is to buy all your revision books and resources before school starts. I know this sounds very simple, but trust me, it will help you a long way because this helps you revisit a topic when you miss a day at school, or if you want to get ahead of yourself and revise a topic before you've even learned it at school, then this is very useful. So that's it, guys. If you like this video, please support this channel by subscribing and commenting down below your favorite way of revising.